Hi, my name is Janet Meredith Webb, and I'm a clinical application specialist with the ventilation team for Draeger. This video is going to be an overview of the quick startup procedure for the Evita Infinity V500 ventilator. There are a number of different components of the ventilator. The C500 or cockpit is the control panel. The V500 itself is the gas box. And then down below, you may or may not see on your device a GS500 and a PS500. These are the optional compressor and power supply. The PS500 will give you a 4-hour external battery option, and there is a 30-minute internal battery option that comes standard with the device. On the front of the ventilation box is where you're going to connect your ventilator circuit. The inspiratory port is the nozzle on the right, to which you connect your inspiratory limb of your circuit. The expiratory limb of your circuit connects to the expiratory valve on the right-hand side. If I open the door, I'm then going to find my flow sensor, and on the expiratory side of the circuit is where you would attach a filter should you want to filter the expired gas that goes to the environment. It's important to note that the gas flow goes through the expiratory valve, out the flow sensor, and gas never enters the box. There's no contaminated gas ever entering the machine. The power button to turn on the V500 is in the lower left-hand corner of the cockpit. Press the green button, you'll see the light illuminate, and then you're going to see a power bar scroll across the screen. This tells you that the ventilator is booting and getting ready for setup. Next to the power button, you're going to see an indicator that shows you that the ventilator is plugged into an outlet, and also a general battery status of your battery supply on the machine. Once the ventilator has booted, the user is going to have the option to either choose current patient or new adult, and this allows you to either recall the previous ventilation settings and patient data, or reset everything to default in clearing the patient information. You touch the button, it turns yellow. You have to confirm by pressing the rotary knob, and the ventilator will tell you that startup is in progress. Once the ventilator has gone to the standby screen, the ventilator will also remind you to perform a device check and breathing circuit check. This is done when the ventilator is cleaned and reset up. This can be cleared by touching the alarm reset button right next to the message and confirm by pressing the rotary knob. To confirm that the device check was done successfully, touch the System Check tab on the top of the window. You'll see an overview that tells you the last device that was done, and it will show you the status of that check. By touching Device Check, you can confirm that every component of the device check was done, and the green button will indicate that each one was successful. You can now go back to the Start Standby button, and you're going to notice in the middle of the screen a button for which we set the patient's height. Touch the button, dial the patient's height, confirm. Touch, turn, confirm. That's an important component of all Draeger ventilators. By setting the patient's height, the ventilator will calculate the ideal body weight, which will be used to calculate your cc's per kilo for every measured tidal volume delivered. In the lower left-hand corner of the screen, you're going to see the button that says Ventilation Settings. This is where we go to set all of our parameters. Touch the Ventilation Settings tab, and it will open the Ventilation Settings window. In this window, you're going to see the modes of ventilation across the top. The first 4 modes are configurable to the modes that are used most often. Other modes shows you all of the modes that the ventilator has. To decipher the nomenclature on this ventilator, each mode of ventilation will have a prefix. We have VC for volume control, we have PC for pressure control, we have SPN for spontaneous breathing. Following the prefix, the mode sequence, assist control, SIMV, pressure support, makes it easy for the user to identify what type of breath is being delivered to the patient. Below your modes of ventilation, you have all of your basic ventilation parameters in the General Settings window. Again, touch the button, turn the rotary knob, and confirm. Touch, turn, confirm is the most important part of making changes on the Draeger ventilator. You have your basic parameters that sit under the General Settings tab. Additional settings is where you will find auto flow, which gives you that hybrid volume-targeted pressure control breath. Once your parameters are set, again using touch, turn, confirm, we can go back to start standby when we're ready to begin ventilating our patient. Touch the start ventilation bar, which will light up the rotary knob to remind the user to confirm by pressing, and we're now ventilating our patient. Once we begin ventilating, the basic layout of the screen, your ventilation parameters sit across the bottom. Anything blue that's measured, green is set. To make changes, touch the button, turn the knob, confirm, touch, turn, confirm is the magic. In the center of the screen, you're going to have your graphics, and then across the top of the header bar, we're going to find our patient category, clock, and battery life indicator, and then the mode of ventilation and any additional adjuncts. Across the right-hand side of the header bar is where ventilator alarms will be displayed. An active alarm will trigger an audible alarm, which we can silence by pressing the alarm silence button in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, which gives us a 2-minute timer in the upper right-hand corner. You'll have your messages and then an alarm indicator that goes 360 degrees. So even if I can't see the screen, I know that this ventilator is in alarm condition. Once the ventilator alarms are all resolved, those messages will remain on the screen without the background color and without the 360-degree indicator. Old alarm messages can be cleared by touching the alarm message, reset all, confirm. To clear this window and have access to my ventilation settings, touch the X and it takes me back to my main screen. To set your patient alarms, you touch the Alarms tab in the upper right-hand corner of the Configure button section. The ventilator will show you what the patient's doing in blue in the middle. Your high alarms are on the top, your low alarms are on the bottom. To make changes, you touch the button, turn, confirm, touch, turn, confirm. To close out that window, touch the X again. So we have our ventilation settings that sit across the bottom. Anything blue is measured, green is set. The graphics are in the center. Your mode of ventilation will be displayed at the top of the header bar with any active adjuncts and then alarms across the top. We then have configure buttons, which are shortcuts to the functions that you will use most often. One of the most commonly used configure buttons is your O2 suction. If you touch the button, it turns yellow. In order to get the 100% FiO2 for 3 minutes, confirm the rotary knob. Notice that the button turned from the light green to dark green, which means that it's active. Set FiO2 is displayed in the lower left-hand corner of the screen at all times. Your analyzed FiO2 will be displayed on the front of the ventilator box, right next to the FiO2 indicator. O2 suction provides 100% FiO2 for 3 minutes. It also allows for disconnect without the ventilator alarming and spraying gas in the room, and will automatically go back to the set FiO2 at the end of those 3 minutes. To interrupt the O2 suction function and return to the set FiO2 immediately, simply touch the O2 suction button, which again will turn yellow. By pressing the rotary knob, it will reset the FiO2 to set value. In order to get a manual breath delivered to your patient, all you do is touch the manual inspiration/hold, which delivers a breath at the set parameters. It will also provide a sustained inflation by pressing and holding the button. Above your finger, you will see a timer that tells you for how long the button has been sustained, and it will continue for up to 40 seconds. Once the button is released, the ventilator will go back to ventilating at your set parameters. In order to access the O2 suction and manual breath button, if these buttons are not available on the screen, you can touch Special Maneuvers. Special Maneuvers takes you into the window where you can find things like oxygen suction and manual inspiration/hold, but you'll also find a button that says Diagnostics, which gives you access to functions like performing a NIF inline on your patient without disconnecting the ventilator. If I go back to the main screen by touching the X, You're also going to see a button that says Manual Disconnect. This button is very important anytime we have to break the circuit in order to do any kind of function, so that we prevent contamination of the environment around the patient's bed. When you touch Manual Disconnect, it turns yellow and we confirm. It allows us to disconnect the ventilator circuit, provides a low flow state, does not spew gas around the room, and allows us to reconnect the patient as soon as we're done and go back to ventilating at the previous parameters. On the second column of buttons, we're going to find a button that says Help. The Help button takes us into the instructions for use, where we can find both the table of contents or an alphabetized index to find whatever topic we're looking for. Again, if we touch the X, it's going to close out that window, take us back to our main monitoring screen. Your ventilation parameters sit across the bottom. Touch Turn Confirm to make changes. Anything that's blue, that's measured. Anything that's green is set. Your mode of ventilation and any adjuncts at the top, and your alarms. We have access to make fast changes to our ventilation parameters down at the bottom, but to change our mode of ventilation, simply touch the mode that's displayed on the header bar. Again, you have configurable tabs for the modes that are used most often. I can go to Other and it will show me all the modes that the ventilator has. If I go to a pressure control mode, I'm now setting a pressure instead of a tidal volume. It's important to know on the Draeger ventilators, the pressure that you set is going to be the pressure that you get. The pressure that you set, P-insp on the Draeger ventilator, is inclusive of your PEEP. Notice that I have it set at 15 and my PIP is reading 15 as well. So in review, your vent settings sit across the bottom. You have fast access to make changes to your basic ventilation parameters. Touch the button, turn the knob, confirm, touch, turn, confirm. Blue is measured, green is set. Your mode of ventilation and any adjuncts that are active are displayed at the top of the screen, and then you've got shortcut buttons along the side. O2 suction is your 100% for 3 minutes. Manual inspiration is your manual breath button. And Help gives you access to your instructions for use right on the control panel. To stop ventilation, you simply touch the Start Standby in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. Touch the standby button, confirm by pressing the rotary knob. The ventilator will indicate that your patient is no longer being ventilated and will alarm, which requires you to touch the alarm reset and confirm. The ventilator clearly indicates that the patient is not being ventilated at this time. The power button is in the lower left-hand corner. To restart ventilation, simply touch the Start Ventilation tab and confirm by pressing the rotary knob. And you'll be back ventilating at your previous settings and ventilator mode, measured values, set values. The power button being in the lower left-hand corner of the screen, if you try to turn the ventilator off while it's actively ventilating your patient, it will take you to the Start Standby window. We put the ventilator in standby by pressing the button and confirming, alarm reset, confirm, and now we're able to power off the ventilator completely. Draeger users have access to ICON, Intensive Care Online. ICON is a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week clinical support hotline that clinicians can call with questions on any Draeger ventilator. On their website, device tutorials and clinical resources can also be found. Thank you for watching.